Our son is 7 years old and has selective mutism since he was a toddler. He spent 4 years at a mainstream school with absolutely no support from any professionals for his selective mutism, and during this time he had never spoken a word to anyone at all in his school. He struggled very hard to even able to attend school. Because of his severe difficulties, we went through the extremely difficult process of obtaining an educational health and care plan for him. After a long legal battle, we finally secured the funding for a place at a specialist speech and language school, and also the external expertise input from Lucy. Lucy began her work with our son by visiting our house to play with him, and he was able to speak directly to Lucy by the end of the first visit. Lucy then returned to our house a few days later and brought with her our son's teaching assistant from the specialist school. Lucy used the sliding in technique to gradually get our son to speak to the TA at home before introducing the TA within the school environment. This meant that our son did not associate the TA with the school before he began speaking to her. This was very important, as our son could not speak to anyone that he knew was associated with the school. After our son was successfully speaking freely with the TA at home, we gradually introduced the TA into the school by arranging several visits from the TA at the school. The sliding in technique that Lucy has described within her Small Steps program was then practiced by playing games in a quiet room away from the classroom, with Mum attending those sessions, until gradually Mum could slide out of those sessions as our son was able to speak to the TA without Mum being present. The sliding in technique has been very successful, and our son can now speak directly to his TA using voice whilst in the classroom. This has never happened whilst at school until now. We're now working towards moving speech to include peers and the class teacher using the same sliding in technique. One of the reasons we believe this Small Steps program has been so successful is because it has been a whole school intervention. Lucy held a training session for all the staff that work at our son's school. Every single person that will ever come into contact with our son now has an understanding of what selective mutism is and how to correctly address it. Lucy then held a more intense training program with key staff that will be working directly with our son. Following the training, Lucy wrote an individual detailed Small Steps program specifically for our son for the school to implement. Lucy micromanages the Small Steps program by guiding and mentoring the TA. Lucy and the TA have daily contact by email about how things are going, and Lucy provides new strategies and interventions as and when new issues arise. We feel very lucky to have found Lucy and can only wish that we had found her sooner. As a parent, you kind of have become self-made expert in your child's condition, and it is extremely valuable to have someone who is an actual specialist in that area to guide and educate you and make recommendations. This is a very rare thing to find when it comes to selective mutism.